Okay, good morning, everybody, for Wednesday, the 30th of August. So low pressure continues to dominate some of our weather. And as you can see there, we're still picking up a west to west northwesterly flow over the country. It does look like it is clearing up today, and we end up with a slightly brighter picture as the morning goes on. As we go into tomorrow, though, unfortunately, it does look like we do pick up a lot more fronts, and it does look a bit unsettled through into Friday, although back by Saturday. You can see that hurricane that's currently going to be battering Florida coming into our picture by sort of the weekend, as it appears on the synoptic out over the Atlantic, hopefully not to bring any storms here. So yes, with that wind, does look like we've got 280 to 300 at 15 knots, easy peasy. And the satellite picture over the UK, mixed amounts of cloud locally currently, but it will continue to brighten up as it goes on and leave sunny intervals and hopefully a nice soarable day. That wind direction always potentially given the chance for some sort of wave interference off the Brecon Beacons and the Welsh Hills, but hopefully only to a very minor amount. Public forecast then showing the start fairly bright, but cloud amounts increasing through the day, hopefully to leave a nice soarable picture. Good visibility, the chance for shower late afternoon. Temperature-wise, 18 degrees being the top temperature, dew point of around 9. The Larkhill ascent showing a fairly solid inversion at around 5 to 5,500 feet. Just looking at that, maybe a tad higher, and we're going to need a good sort of 18 degrees or so to get that going, but or maybe a little bit less, but yeah, it will get going there eventually and convect immediately, then hopefully to around 4 to 4,500 feet. Current Lasham, temperature of 12, dew point of 9. Picture outside is that, and the sort of start of the thermal activity is going to depend on how quickly this cloud and other cloud moves away. Potential flight distance, if you believe it, is that. So looking quite reasonable round here and down to the southwest. As usual, though, top meteo has been a little bit on the optimistic side lately. So do bear that in mind. Probably a south coast convergence, maybe into Dorset and into Devon, quite possible. Doesn't really get going much before 11 o'clock, but when it does, looks like we'll get convection by lunchtime up to 3,500 feet or so with cumulus. As we go through the day, you can see the cumulus gets a bit more congested near the south coast, probably indicating a sea breeze front. Around here remaining nice, 4,500 feet possible. It sort of peaks at that during the day. The odd chance of a shower. Out to the west, looking fairly reasonable, and the northwest, but as usual, some issues in the Bristol Channel and the Severn Estuary, where the wind direction may get influenced a bit by the sea a bit. More shower activity out into East Anglia, and looking out into the Midlands, looking reasonable too. But yeah, just sometimes a little bit more in the way of cloud. Does look like around 5 o'clock it does start to break down a little bit, and by 6 o'clock it really is starting to shut down, bearing in mind we are nearly at the end of August. Going through the day then, well, it doesn't really show this upper level cloud on top meteo. So that's your first warning sign, is that it may take a little bit longer to go. But cumulus, and then sometimes areas of small amounts of spread out. Nothing too significant, this says, but bear in mind that inversion is pretty strong from what we've seen in the sounding. But yeah, better out to northwest and west. So your site forecast for today then, northwesterly winds, moderate thermals, and peaking around here, probably around 4,500 feet. With a temperature of around 18 to 19 degrees, dew point of around 7. Farnborough currently reporting few at 4,300, scattered at 4,9, and scattered at 3 being the headline figure for today. And the odium TAF is actually not been updated yet, so is not relevant. And Southampton showing few at 3, with few at 3.5 being the current observation. Airspace wise, South Cerney parachute zone is active today between 12 and 6:30. So South Cerney parachute zone active. Lots of paragliding NOTAMs across the region, but other than South Cerney, it does appear like it's relatively quiet. Salisbury Plain active as per normal. Operationally today, it will be runway 27. There is a fair amount of view on here, so I might suggest that we do grid a little bit on the grass. See how many tugs I've got. We are going to be winching from the south side onto 27 as we normally do, an aero tow from the runway. Standard, but it may be worth having a grid. We do have a potential jet movement somewhere between 11 AM and 12 PM. That's 757, which is sat to Excel, needs to go to Keflavik. So, but I'm just hearing they're fueling it up, and that might take a bit longer than expected. So, once I have an updated time, I'll let you know. But yeah, runway 27 in use. Just a reminder of the safety initiative of the week. And that comes from the safe rigging policy, which I'll just show you on here. And today's discussion is prove it is fit to fly. And that's making sure that every time we do go flying, especially after we've rigged, we do positive control checks. An independent check, especially if your glider is a trickier type. And occasionally we do challenge people at the launch point to make sure they have done this. It's not to be taken wrongly. It's just that certain types of glider we know are more susceptible to misrigging than others. So yes, as a club policy, we do ask you to do positive control checks as well. You never know when something may have been de-rigged and re-rigged. But yes, please do make sure that you prove that your glider is fit to fly before going flying after rigging. So with that in mind, we will see you out there shortly. Bye for now.